Okay, it is such an honor to introduce Matt Henry. He's the son of Robert and Stacy Henry from Oxford, Nebraska. Matthew graduated from Southern Valley High School in 2020. His major is computer science with a minor in geospatial technology. Throughout his time at Wayne, Matt has been on the Dean's List and participated in esports. Matt will graduate in May of 2024 after completing the final classes needed for his course requirements. Matt, it's really an honor to award you your honor support, and it's been great working with you these last 4 years.
Thank you. Do I have to keep this on? No.
It doesn't match the outfit.
All right, so this is Enhancing Web Development Through Accessibility. It's a comprehensive guide by me for the senior honors presentation for Wayne. So what we're going to talk about today is a whole bunch of stuff, key concepts of accessibility, web development accessibility guidelines, web development accessibility integration, benefits of web development accessibility, challenges of web development accessibility, accessibility case studies, future trends of web development accessibility, and then a final conclusion. So, first things first, key concepts. Accessibility in terms of web development is the practice of making websites more accessible for as many people as possible. This is typically thought to only apply to those with a disability, but it can also connect to mobile web development and internet connectivity. There are several reasons why web development accessibility is important. One, it allows for easy and convenient access to anyone no matter their circumstances. Two, it makes the site easier for people to use depending on their needs and wants of the website. And number three, it's the law. The American with Disabilities Act, ADA, makes it illegal to discriminate against those with a disability, and this includes providing equal access to programs, services, and activities, all of which websites can't provide. And then that is my source for that information, just for record. All right, did I skip one? No, okay. There are 4 accessibility principles that web developers need to follow if they want to make their website fully accessible. Number 1, perceivable. This is related to text and media on a website, meaning that they can be accurately seen, as well as including text alternatives for those hearing or visually impaired, which can change the text into a larger print or promoting the use of screen reading technology. Second principle, operable. The user can effectively use the controls, buttons, navigation, and other interactive parts of the website. This mainly relates to keyboard navigation for those with a motor or other physical impairment. These users rely on keyboards to navigate a website efficiently, and if a website is fully operable, the use of the keyboard and other tools that help the users with physical disability should be supported. Number 3 principles, readability. Making the content easy for users to comprehend, which includes making the website predictable by making the web page look and operate in ways that are repetitive, and helping the users avoid and correct any mistakes that they may or may not make. And 4 principles, robust. The content on the site should be able to be understood by a wide range of users, as well as being able to support a wide range of accessibility technology tools, including tools from today and possible ones in the future. Continuing with key concepts, if a website is not fully accessible, there are several impacts that can affect the owners or the operators of the website. Number 1 is the legal impact. If a website is not in compliance with the accessibility guidelines as directed by the Americans with Disabilities Act, they can be sued, and chances are they'll lose. And if they do, they can be charged legal fees, both for their own legal representation and the plaintiffs, the people suing them. Civil fees, meaning paying damages to those affected by the site. And finally, government fines, which are fines enforced by the government for website accessibility non-compliance, namely breaking the laws that require accessibility, ADA, as previously mentioned. 2, social and ethical impact. If a website is non-compliant with ADA and other accessibility guidelines, society frowns upon and can spread the news about companies that are not inclusive to those with a disability. And with that, they can ruin their business. Non-compliance with accessibility guidelines is also unethical because it breaks the law and discriminates against those with a disability. And number 3, economic impact. A business can be economically impacted in several ways due to non-compliance with accessibility guidelines. The first and largest way is the previously mentioned legal fees, but they may also be ordered to become compliant, which could include technological updates as well as accessibility training for the staff. All of these can add up to money that the business may or may not have. So, big one, Web Development Accessibility Guidelines. The Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG, are a series of regulations suggested for developers to follow. They are suggested to follow these guidelines because if they do, the website will be fully accessible to whoever. As of now, the WCAG has several versions, the current one being version 2.2. These guidelines include instructions on how to make websites accessible for those with a visual, hearing, motor, or neural disability, as well as others that are not mentioned in this presentation. Originally, WCAG released version 1.0, which provided the guidelines to help websites accessibility. They accomplished this by having web developers follow 14 basic guidelines, while also working through several checkpoints to check their progress on the website against the 14 guidelines. Over time, technology advanced, and version 1.0 became increasingly outdated. This is when version 2.0 came out. And along with adjusting the guidelines to follow due to technological advances, they also changed the 14 guidelines and checkpoints to the 4 principles: perceivable, operable, readable, and robust, to follow throughout their web development process. So if they followed those 4 principles, they didn't need to follow the checkpoints or the 14 guidelines because they'll make sure they're doing it as they create it. And then version 2.2 came out, which kept all the current guidelines previously mentioned, but they also updated them to include mobile websites on phones and overall website navigation, as well as keyboard input styles, predictability, and overall input assistance. To measure how well a website implements the web content accessibility guidelines, success criteria were created and organized into 3 levels of conformance. Level A. This is the basic requirement and makes the websites available for some users with disability to be able to access and use the web content on the site. Level 2A. Improves overall accessibility and removal of significant barriers to accessing content. And level 3A provides further improvements and enhancements to web accessibility for users with disabilities. These conformance levels are cumulative, meaning for a website to be considered 3A, they have to meet the success criteria for all 3 levels together, not just the last one. JavaScript is the core website programming language development, often being used alongside HTML and CSS programming languages. JavaScript is used to make the website page more interactive. HTML is used to design the basic layout of a website and then displaying it. CSS is used in tandem with HTML to specify the presentation of and the style of the HTML file. Accessible, rich internet applications are a set of roles and features that describe ways to make web information and websites themselves more accessible for its users. ARIA is best effective when used with websites developed using JavaScript, and it can be used to change commonly used HTML coding practices to create more effective assistive technologies. After a website has been fully developed, the owners or developers or whoever of the site can take the file they developed of the website to another website and test it against the web content accessibility guidelines. Several websites on the internet provide access to testing tools that have access to the current WCAGs, and they can test a newly developed website for accessibility conformance. Some of these websites for testing are free to use and some are free for its use, but with that also comes more features compared to the free versions. These features can include sample screens of what's wrong with the file, report generation with evaluation results, and some even have an accessibility score out of 100 or whatever the testing basis is. Benefits of web development accessibility. There are several benefits to web development accessibility. Number 1, increased website traffic. By creating websites to be more accessible, the traffic rates of websites naturally increase over time due to ease of use and inclusivity. No risk of legal complications. The legal requirements for websites are clear, and if any website is non-compliant, they are at risk for legal action both by its users and the government. If a website is fully compliant with accessibility guidelines, there's no risks. Higher credibility and brand awareness. Search engine optimization, SEO, is the process of improving a website's visibility to get more visitors from search engines like Google or Bing or any other big ones. If more big search engines lead to the website, the higher a site's credibility grows as well as its brand awareness. A wider audience. If a website is fully accessible, the size of an audience that can use the site and does use the site naturally increases. finally, more inclusive. If a website has significant accessibility, more people of all backgrounds and disabilities can use the site, increasing the overall inclusivity of the site. Challenges of web development accessibility. Making a website completely accessible is a challenge, mainly because of making sure that all types of people with disabilities can access and use the website easily. These disabilities include visual, hearing, motor, and neural disabilities. So a visual disability, defined as moderate to complete loss of vision loss in one or both eyes. This also can include other types of visual impairments such as color blindness or light sensitivity. Some examples of accessibility challenges for developers to consider is making sure websites have proper color contrasting and ensuring text alternatives for non-text-based content like an image or a video or a graph or something like that. And then next is the hearing disability, defined as moderate to complete hearing loss in one or both ears. Also includes hearing impairments such as tinnitus, which is consistent ringing in one or both ears, as well as auditory neuropathy, which is difficulty understanding spoken words. Some examples of accessibility challenges for developers to consider are videos with closed captioning for those who cannot hear or understand spoken word, as well as deliberate volume control for those who have minor hearing loss who need a louder volume than normal. So the photo to the right shows examples of good and bad color contrasting, which can help those with and without a visual disability see content easier. So let's see. No, not that. That. Whatever, the top left one, there's actually words there. I don't know if you can see them, but that is an example of a poor contrasting colors. And then the other ones on the left are bad, and the other ones are good, as you can probably read them. The Web Content Accessibility Guidelines has requirements for color contrasting, meaning that the background color and the text color themselves must each be shaded to a specific proportion that pass. The specific proportions depend on the level of conformance. As previously mentioned, the conformance levels. Level A doesn't have any specifics. Level 2A requires a 4.5 to 1 ratio, and level 3A requires a 7 to 1 ratio. So in the picture to the right, 3 out of the 6 colors don't pass at all. 1 passes the level 2A requirements, which is the top right, because it's 5.24, which is greater than the 4.5. And then 2 of them pass to level 3 because they're greater than the 7 to 1 ratio. Hearing disability. YouTube is a great example of a website that provides hearing accessibility. Being a website that is completely video-based, they would be excluding a lot of people if their videos were not able to be watched by those deaf or hard of hearing. YouTube offers plentiful options for those with hearing issues, including changing most of the aspects of the closed captions that can be easily turned on or off, as well as changing the font type, size, color, background color, and more, as a GIF demonstrates. That's actually a screen recording from my own personal computer showing how easy it is to do. I didn't have to install any applications to be able to do that. Continuing with challenges. I'm not going to read that first paragraph because I said it already. So the next one is a motor disability, defined as weakness of muscle control, loss of sensation, joint issues, pain that limits movement, and even missing limbs. Some challenges for developers to consider are to include full keyboard support for those who cannot use a mouse, extra time limits for motor or typing related tasks, and not predictable or logical page navigation and page functions. That's a challenge for them to consider. And the next is a neurological disability, defined as impairments that involve neurological and neurodiversity disorders, including behavioral and mental health disorders. Some challenges are supposed to be for developers to consider are breaking long passages with images, graphs, or other illustrations, as well as an option to turn off moving or flashing audio-visual content. If they do not have these, those people with a neurological disorder, like epilepsy, may be negatively affected by the content of the site. So this is an example of keyboard accessibility. This is, again, a screen recording of my own personal computer and Wayne State's main website. Wayne State's main website has keyboard navigation. Keyboard navigation typically relies on using mainly the tab and enter buttons, where pressing the tab moves the box across the screen, and then the enter selects the option, all without using the mouse. You can see on the GIF, the box moving across the screen and my mouse isn't. Wayne State's main webpage allows for full keyboard navigation, which is especially helpful for those with a motor or physical disability, allowing for the full use of the site without using a mouse. Neural accessibility. Neurological accessibilities are kind of difficult to physically demonstrate because they're related to things that can't be seen by us, like anxiety and dyslexia. The photo to the right shows uses the previous examples of anxiety and dyslexia to demonstrate some do's and don'ts to design a website to support these impairments. So for anxiety, just a couple: do give users enough time to complete an action, don't rush users or set impractical time limits. And then for dyslexia, do use images and diagrams to support text, don't use large blocks of a heavy text. Web development, accessibility, integration. The process for website development can be defined using several phases. And throughout these phases, accessibility can include that's a weird sentence, I'm sorry. Throughout these phases, accessibility can be included to ensure that the site is following web content accessibility guidelines. These phases are planning and gathering of requirements, design, develop, test, deploy, and operation and maintenance. So first, planning and gathering requirements. This is when developers specify what the site is supposed to accomplish, as well as identifying what types of accessibility tools and testing should be performed. Developers can also coordinate with accessibility experts to ensure the WCAG are followed. Phase 2, design. This is when designers create graphic and user interfaces, as well as navigational and contextual aspects of the site, and any other general design aspects of the website's pages. This is also when probable accessibility elements can be designed as well. Step 3, develop. This is when the previously designed aspects of the site are put into the prototype of the website, being sure to include the accessibility features that were previously designed. Step 4, testing. This is when the website is tested for its functionality, as well as testing each aspect of the web content accessibility guidelines using the previously mentioned testing websites. This is also when the site attains its conformance level, either A, 2A, or 3A. Step 5, deploy, when the website is published and made available to its intended audience. And then step 6, the owners or operators of the site website regularly updates and maintains the site with new information depending on the needs of the site, as well as including any updates in the web content accessibility guidelines. And these are some case studies that I found about accessibility. So the first is Reverie Retreat. This is a nature-based camping company resort, and they wanted a redesign of their website due to a lack of internet traffic and a lack of guests for their retreats. They also wanted to broaden their brand and attract a wider range of users to their site. They hired a company that specializes in creating websites that are also fully compliant with the web content accessibility guidelines. This company is Access Design Studio. Access Design Studio redesigned Reverie Retreat's website, which was done to appeal to new users. This redesign included professional photography, social media links, and an interactive calendar of events. After completing the redesign, Access Design Studio also ensured that every part of the updated website is made fully available to those with a disability. They also made sure to get the site certified WCAG compliant with the level 2 conformance level. Since their redesign, Reverie Retreat has seen a growth in page visitors as well as steadily increased bookings and overall revenue for their business. Their visitor demographics also increased, specifically with senior citizens, due to the updated accessibility and ease of use that the site provides. And this is a screenshot of Reverie Retreat's updated website, including the new events. Hopefully the laser can get events and gallery pages that were added in the website's update, as well as the contact tab that provides the company's contact information and social media links. Another accessibility case study, Domino's Pizza. In 2016, a blind man from California sued Domino's after he could not order pizza online. He said that their website and mobile app were not compatible with the screen reading software that he was specifically using. His attorneys also said that because of this, Domino's violated the ADA law because it requires companies to make their online platforms equally as accessible as their in-person locations. 5 years after the lawsuit was filed, the court ruled that Domino's Pizza had in fact violated the ADA laws because their website was not fully accessible to the blind. Domino's was hit with a large financial fine, as well as being ordered to bring their website into full compliance with the WCAG 2.0 guidelines. This result was a loss for Domino's. It hurt their image and it hurt their pocketbooks as well. But it was also a win for disability advocates who share the need for all websites to be completely accessible for everyone. And this image shows the Domino's webpage after they received a court order to make their page fully accessible. BBC, British Broadcasting Company. BBC is an example of a website that is a fully accessibly compliant website. The most notable of these web accessibility features being its keyboard accessibility. While the basic requirements for keyboard access, while the website has the basic requirements for keyboard accessibility, it also has several functions that allow for faster usability of the site. Namely, if the user presses tab twice quickly, it will open a skip the content button, which will take the user to the main content of the site past ads and navigation, headings, and whatever else. Another feature is pressing the tab button 3 times quickly, which will open an accessibility help button, which will bring the user to helpful information about the accessibility that the site offers. Beyonce is all heard of her. She's a famous singer that has her own website dedicated to her, mainly for sharing tour dates, links to her direct social media, and access to purchase merchandise with the name, face, or likeness on it. The website is owned and operated by Parkwood Entertainment, and several people have brought to light several ADA violations that the site has. These violations include lack of alternative text, lack of keyword accessibility, and improper labeling for navigational functions of the site. These violations do not allow those with disabilities to efficiently and effectively understand the content of the website. The specific disabilities affected are visual due to the lack of alternative text, and physical due to the lack of keyboard accessibility. And the improper labeling of navigational functions affect those with and without a disability because it does not allow them to browse the site and its contents easily. The legal case is still ongoing, but the plaintiff has a fair chance of winning and possibly receiving a settlement, as well as Parkwood Entertainment, the owners of the site, receiving a court order to make their website fully ADA and WCAG compliant if they haven't already. Future trends of web development accessibility. Possible or probable future technologies. So, haptic and tactile interfaces. These can enhance tactile or feeling sensations to improve the sensory experience for those with a visual or hearing impairment. Sign language interpretation software. Software that can translate sign language into text or speech in real time, bridging the gap between hearing impaired individuals and those that do not know sign language. Smart glasses. Cameras that use artificial intelligence to provide descriptions of the wearer's surroundings, including identifying objects, reading text, and providing guidance through buildings or streets. Neurodiverse designs. Creating environments that match the way our brain views the world. A specific example is creating a time period in a grocery store where the lights are dim and noise levels are lower, creating a low sensory experience for those people shopping who have autism and their families alongside. Artificial intelligence is the whole other ballgame. Language capture. Artificial intelligence can process spoken language and then provide real-time transcription and captioning for students or other users with hearing impairments. This makes online classroom lectures easier for those deaf or hard of hearing, especially if those videos lack accessibility options like closed captions. Facial recognition. Artificial intelligence scans the faces of online photos or videos that are on the site the user is on, and then provides audio descriptions of the person in the photos or videos' emotions and their facial expressions, especially helpful to those with a visual disability. Lip reading. Lip reading is an impressive and useful skill for those hard of hearing or deaf, but not everyone can do it. Artificial intelligence lip reading technology can take visual input of lip movements, such as from an online video without closed captions, and then convert them into other media for someone hard of hearing or deaf to understand. Information summarization. AI can view large amounts of text or other content and then summarize that content, making it easier for those with a neurological or learning disability to understand the information presented. Here's my conclusion. The world of website accessibility is a wide one, and by looking at each part of it individually and how they add up to be one big topic, current and future web developers can know why it is so important and work with teams of other developers or by themselves to design and deploy websites that fit the needs of everyone who needs to use the site. If web developers successfully make their websites accessible, they add new programming skills to their virtual toolbox of IT expertise, as well as adding experience to their resumes. Contrarily, if they do not make their websites fully accessible, there is termination from current employment, legal action from both government and civil suits, and being ostracized from further work in the industry. These potential risks should be a call to action for all developers, and they should do their best to understand the world of accessibility and use their technical skills to provide the best resources and information for all of their potential customers or clients. These are the references for my information, and then those are just the links that I had for my added images. Questions?
Well, first, thank you very much. And I do have a couple questions, and I'm going to say both of them, and then you can answer one.
Okay.
First off, okay, you had me in intro to web development, and we specifically talk about alt tags or alt attributes and color contrast and kind of flashy images and things like that for accessibility, what we need to do about it. As a teacher, what do I need to start talking to my students about AI and accessibility?
Mostly just how it, I would say mostly just how it can influence the world of web development and how it can be a tool, but how it can also negatively affect their learning experiences if they rely on it too much.
So are there tools out there now that I can use in AI in web development?
I'm sure there are. I can't think of any specifically except for like ChatGPT, which can provide answers to questions about it, or they can actually provide real-time coding as well. So if you have a question about how to make something accessible, like an image, it can provide you an example coding practice to show you how to do it. But there will definitely be more in the future that I'm not currently aware of.
Very good. And finally, why accessibility? Why did you pick this topic?
I have a family member who is visually impaired, and our family has always had to help her with technology things, and I noticed that some websites are significantly better providing accessibility and ease of use for their users than others, and that alongside your class with web development piqued my interest.
Thank you.
So as you surf around the web, is there anything on a website to indicate its level of accessibility, like A or AA or AAA?
That would most likely depend on the site. Some, I would say that some are, say it loud and proud in like the information or information about the website in one of those pages, and some they have it but they don't project it. So you kind of have to look around and depend on the specific site if you can find it or not.
So kind of trial and error.
Yeah, it's not about saying you have it like out there and proud. It's about having it.
Yeah.
But there's no rules against not saying it either.
Right, and there's, sorry, Dr. Brennan, I don't mean to.
No.
So there's no minimum guidelines really for publishing stuff on the web, and so you can do it until you get sued, basically, right? Is that accurate?
You could, yeah, but the better idea would be to do it before you get sued.
Yeah, be proactive, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we do talk about that, it shouldn't be an afterthought, it should be like the first thing you think of. But I kind of was under the impression that only government agencies had to be ADA compliant, but your research didn't show that.
Yeah, from what I can tell, any publicly available website should be WCAG compliant with one of the conformance levels. But if it's something like a learning environment that no one else is going to use except for the student, then you don't need it for that.
But so does somebody monitor those publicly available sites, or?
I don't know about anybody who specifically does it, but if someone with a disability tries to use it and they can't, then they can bring it to the attention of the owners of the website or a lawyer or whoever. It just depends on what the user wants and what their needs are and what the site is trying to do as well.
Sure. Yeah. Interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Good job.
Right up.